I am on a mission today to turn, oh my goodness. What's the term? Oh God, see, I'm on a mission. It's so intense, I can't think of the word. Oh God, this is what happens when you become 25, huh? Yes. Okay, it's all coming back. I'm on a mission to turn science fiction into science fact, okay? Science fiction into science fact. So I'm going to address two things this morning, that's all. And the first one has to do with this question of leprosy that's in the scriptures today. Now, I know in my head that there was leprosy in the time of Jesus and went on for centuries. It's practically eradicated now. I know that in Molokai in Hawaii, St. Damien was there, and he created a colony for lepers from all over the world to come to be treated and live in community, because it's a highly contaminating disease, and people had to be abstracted, taken out of the community. And we heard about it in Leviticus. How horrible. If you became a leper, you got the blotches, and they took you to a priest, and he declared you were unclean. This is how you had to walk through the countryside, because you couldn't go in town. You're walking down the countryside, and there's Michael there, and pretend he's coming down the road. I had to warn him, say, unclean, I'm unclean, go away, I'm unclean. And he'd run, because I was so contagious. So I have a question. How many of you, and tell me the truth now, how many of you personally know a leper? Okay, how many personally have even just met a leper? You met one, huh? We've got one person here. Did the leper touch you? Okay. Anybody been touched by a leper? Okay. Well, I know it's not science fiction. It's science fact. But practically speaking, it doesn't have much connection with us, at least with me. I mean, the closest I can come, I suppose, is flesh-eating disease. It's not leprosy, but it's terrible. It's not contagious like leprosy. You has to get into a cut or wound or into your blood. But it kills. It kills. Unless they get it all out through some kind of an operation and cleanse it, it'll kill you. It's also very small proportion of society. I think it's 0.4% to 1% out of 100,000. So combine Atwater, Glendale, Glassell Park, and Eagle Rock, maybe that's about 100,000. One person would have it. You know, it's tiny, but it's deadly. So this is not science fiction, it's science fact. However, because it doesn't connect much with me, I look at this story and I listen to it in a different way, because although I don't think of physical flesh leprosy, I will say that metaphorically speaking, there's a lot of leprosy, spiritual leprosy, verbal leprosy, and it's very contagious, and it contaminates tremendously. And all we have to do is flap our mouth the wrong way. We can instill fear, hatred, prejudice, separation, distance, a lack of trust, a lack of hope, and it's contagious. That's one of the roles, I think, of the preacher, is to preach hope. Preach hope. Because there's way too much stuff out there that deteriorates our hope and our faith in a future. Just take nuclear weapons. For God's sake, why do we have them? If we have them, won't we use them someday? We already have. We did it twice. Doesn't that frighten you, to think that we spend the trillions of dollars around the world on weapons that we say we're never going to use, but we have used them? It seems to me, and I don't get it, why every Christian church at the core wouldn't be a peace community. And that every Christian, Catholic and any other Christian, that we would bind ourselves worldwide, ecumenically, interreligiously, Get the Jews, the Islamic people, get the Buddhists, get their peace lovers, get the Quakers, get all of them together and say, what are we going to do? If our governments aren't going to do it, what are we going to do to ensure peace? But there's leprosy out there, spiritual leprosy. And it rots us. It rots us. That's science fact. So what do we do? How can you avoid it? So here's my second point. Has anybody here ever been to the moon? Walked on the moon? You've walked on it? You're the one I said don't do that. No. Okay. Does anybody know personally, not from reading or television, personally, a person who walked on the moon? You do? Who? You know him personally? Oh, yeah, because you have some connection. Yeah, okay. Wow, there's another one. A leprosy knower and an astronaut walker on the moon knower. Okay. Know them personally, not saw them, know them personally. Just met them once. Oh, you're not friends though, are you? Okay. But you're closer than I am. I've never even met somebody who walked on the moon. How many of you would like to walk on the moon? Well, I was in Hawthorne for 12 years before I came here, and they have SpaceX over there, Mr. Musk, and he says in about 10 years, for only $10,000, you can go walk on the moon. So here's your chance. Start saving. I'm moving us from science fiction, oh, I'll never walk on the moon, that's fiction for me, to science fact. It's possible. And why is this important? Well, I remembered something this week as I was preparing for this morning, and so I went to my internet because I love you, internet. And I didn't remember the title of the article, so I just put it in the browser, just the basic idea, and this is what came up. Here's the title of this article from Big Think, Your Daily Microdose of Genius. That's what it's subtitled. The title of the article is Seeing Earth from Space, How True Awe Changes You. And in this article, it starts by talking about Frank White, who wasn't an astronaut. He never went to the moon. But while flying across the country, he was looking at the mountains and the rivers and the incredible beauty of the earth. And just from that height, not all that high, he says, I was looking out the window and the thought came to me, anyone living in a space settlement or living on the moon would always have an overview. They would see things that we know, but we don't experience, which is that the earth is one system, that we're a part of that system, and that there's a certain unity and coherence to it all. Now, I know we all know that too. We know that. The earth is one system. Like, we're breathing and then exhaling, and then the trees breathe in our carbon dioxide and give us back oxygen, but we're wiping out the trees in the Amazon area. We're wiping them out. We're cutting off our supply of oxygen. Does that make sense? Well, we're doing it. We're one system. We're putrefying the oceans and the rivers. There's a source of food there. Hello? Do we not get it? We're one system. We depend upon one another so that life will continue, that we can coexist. But we're right in it. And although we know it with our head, in some ways it may be like science fiction. But I'm here on a mission to give you science fact. And so, listening to one of those astronauts, Russell Schweikart, he told White, who wrote the article of Seeing the Earth from a Plane, he said that he was an Apollo 9 astronaut, and he said, that makes a change. You look down there, he's talking about from the moon, look down on the earth, you look down there and you can't imagine how many borders and boundaries you cross again and again and again, and you don't even see them. There you are, hundreds of people in the Mideast killing each other over some imaginary line that you're not even aware of and that you can't see. So, ladies, this is one time that you can relax, and we say we men, but it's ladies too, but mostly men. We create all these boundaries. California ends here, Nevada there, this country, that country, and then we war over that line. We put armies to protect that line. We create all these boundaries to separate us. Does this make sense? I suppose it's probably most of all to protect wealth, to get more wealth, to prevent others from getting wealth so we can have more. And I'm talking not just about the United States, but every country. That's how we think. So we have all these boundaries, but if you go to the moon, you don't see them. You just see this one earth, this one beautiful place. This one beautiful place populated by people from all around it. And they should be one because we're breathing the same air. We're inhaling and exhaling the same air. We die and go back to the same earth. Everybody. Nobody's exempt. We need maybe to go to outer space to understand this inner space. And maybe it's people so blessed like the astronauts who got that viewpoint. That viewpoint took them from science fiction to science fact, the deepest and most important one of all, that we as humans inhabit the earth and ought to share it together. Well, boy, I wish I could convince people of this. I may have made some enemies this morning here, I don't know. But I think the second reading, it doesn't always do this as well, but I think the second reading today attempts to touch this truth or tell us how we can make this science fiction become science fact, that we're all part of this one thing together. And in the second reading, Paul, some 2,000 years ago, a little more maybe, was writing this letter to the Corinthian people. And when he wrote this is how he addressed them. He said, "Brothers and sisters, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do everything for the glory of God. Avoid giving offense, whether to the Jews or Greeks or the church of God. Just as I try to please everyone in every way, not seeking my own benefit, but that of the many, that they may be saved. Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." Wouldn't that be super amazing if that sounds like science fiction became science fact, that we were so convinced I must imitate Christ, every one of us saying that I must imitate Christ because in doing so, I won't give offense, but rather I will love and respect everyone around me. And what an amazing world. Jesus challenged us, called us to this over 2,000 years ago. What an amazing world this place would be if everybody respected everyone else, loved everyone else. What an amazing place if we didn't need borders, if we could go anywhere, we didn't need passports, because we accepted and respected and welcomed and appreciated everyone, every color, every language, everything. But it's science fiction. And I guess we're just resolved to leave it that way. But I'll tell you something. Nothing would thrill me more if before I died, the human race decided to scrap all nuclear weapons. Nothing would thrill me more if before I died, countries were wiping out their boundaries and saying, listen, we're all human, let's enjoy and celebrate each other. Nothing would thrill me more if everywhere we looked, we saw rising up more and more respect and care for one another and care for our planet, care for our earth. And if not for this reason, so that I, each one of us saying it, I can enjoy this earth, so I can pass it on to others as it was passed on to me. And that they will be able to live a full life and a beautiful life, because we see that this one place, so beautifully recognized from outer space, but because we got that viewpoint, we can come back to it and say, this inner space is something we must cherish, something we must love, and something we must generously give to one another.